Okay, well, my phone has been trying to sabotage me from showing you this, but nevertheless, I'm going to give it another try. Um, this right here is a symbol that we all have seen before, and if you notice, I started off with circle radius 4 in the middle, created a Vesica Pisces around it. Very simple. But, at the same time, if you don't do sacred geometry, this would be a little bit of a stretch to imagine that somebody might do on their own without having some kind of a background in sacred geometry. You don't have to call it sacred geometry if you feel uncomfortable with that. I understand. Around that Vesica Pisces fits a circle radius 7 exactly, which is a perfect circle. The band tool, which is what the compass really is, it's not a symbol like some people would have you believe. It's a tool. And the tool is for making this design, in fact, and many others. But this one is the highest of complexity that I have just about ever seen. And I've been doing this for a while. So we start off with circle radius 7 with a circle radius 4 in the middle. And if you're thinking the 4th of July here, this is why I believe it's time sensitive. So watch what we're doing here. And, when I saw this design open up to me for the first time, just doing sacred geometry and figuring stuff out, this was not given to me by any secret society. I belong to no secret society. I'm independent. And my study of sacred geometry has always just kind of followed me around wherever I went. It's one of those things where I've been doing it ever since I was kind of in high school, but I kind of took it more seriously when I got the book, The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life. And, let's see, I feel like I'm drifting here a little. If your compass drifts, you're not going to get a good result. But must have messed up a little bit over here. Anyway, you'll get the gist. Because at the end of the day, it comes out almost exact. Pretty much it should be exact when this comes out. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting circle radius 7 with circle radius 4. And this is the language of sacred geometry that you develop. You start realizing how, just like every mathematics has its own language, this has its own language, and it's not taught in school. You can judge for yourself why. I hate when people put their opinions on stuff online. It kind of ruins the production value of the whole thing. I think that symbols can speak for themselves if properly interpreted. You can see that making videos is not my forte. However, I'm going to do this. I wanted to try to figure out a way to make money out of this, I have to admit. But then I decided against it because it's time sensitive. And I just don't have the technical savvy and the... I kind of feel like this needs to get out. So that's where we're at right now. And let me just stop what I'm doing for a second so that I can label it. We're going to start the first thing off. We're going to label it like a clock. And this kind of came to me very automatically, the way these things sort of do after you've been doing them for 17 plus years. And For a little while, I stopped at this point. I was so amazed that the eye made the 11. And you can make the radiuses any size you want, but if you make that design, a circle with the Vesica Pisces around it, inside of another circle, you're always going to get the same effect. I'm just doing it on graph paper for, well, for a couple of reasons. One of them being that you can reproduce this, the other being that you'll be able to see it and just understand it a little bit better. So the way this language then works is you, and I didn't know this until 10 years after I got pretty serious about drawing circles. So just to give you an idea, it's not like I'm some super genius over here. I just kind of came up with this, and I took my time and a fascination, long period of time. I developed what I know now, and sharing it with you for your own reasons, and you can do with this knowledge whatever you feel is correct. I'm not suggesting that, well, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm going to let this drawing speak for itself. Because that's what geometry does and symbols do. They speak for themselves. When people try to interpret geometry and symbols, sometimes they can get it wrong. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to let this symbol speak for itself. But I couldn't help but think of that Q drop, if you will, where he said that symbolism will be their downfall. I say to myself, how interesting that the all-seeing eye comes out to such strange numbers. You know, when you think about the all-seeing eye, you think about the dollar bill. You obviously think about media. You think about many different things and many different organizations, not just one. If you only know of one organization that uses the all-seeing eye, you'd be incorrect. And not being correct is sometimes dangerous. I wouldn't want anyone to put themselves or anyone else in danger. I made that circle just a little bit fat, so it didn't come out perfect, but it does. If you don't make it fat, it comes out perfect. Anyway, you get the gist of what I'm trying to do. So, this particular one, we're going to do the opposite way. And once again, it actually comes out cooler if you make the 11 go one way and then or backwards, and then the 9 go the right way. But in this case, we'll just do it backwards. I'm sure it won't come out too terribly. Oh. Yeah, 1, 3. That's how smart I am. See, guys? Any idiot can come up with this. You don't need to be a super genius. And after I filled in all these numbers the first time, I couldn't help but realize, well, how fascinating. If you take all these numbers and all these numbers and then add them up and put them in their correct category where they would line up, you get this. Let me show you. So 2 plus 9 is 11. 1 plus 10 is 11. 9 plus 11 is 20. 8 plus 1 is 9. And 7 plus 2 is 9. Okay, so what you have here is a total of 60. And over here, you have 7 plus 3, right here, is 10. Oop, 10. Don't want to poke him in the eye. Just the eyelid. And then 6 plus 4 is 10. 5 plus 5 is 10. 4 plus 6 is 10. Wow. Three plus 7 is 10. And 2 plus 8 is 10. And then what you quickly realize is that as above, so below. You got 60 up here and then 60 down here if you add it all together. And then thinking about the number 120, I said to myself, that really isn't very special. There's nothing too great about the number 120, unless you take into consideration that there is an I in the middle. And I is also the letter I. And the letter I is Roman numeral 1. Well, now it makes a lot more sense, because 121, well, that's 11 squared. And if you know anything about Thelema and just numerology in general, you know that the number 11 is the number of change, creating change. It's also a master number. And 11 squared would be a pretty serious change. So 121 is what you get when you add all of this up. And I can understand why you might wonder why I have to put an I in the middle. And it's just the way this wordplay goes. I don't know how else to better describe it. It's just the way symbolism works. It's not supposed to be a literal thing. Okay, so you got 60 above and 60 below, plus the 1 in the middle, gives you 121. That's 11 squared. Now, we're not really done with this, as you can figure out. You could go on and on and on. So let's go a little further out with this and see what happens. I'm pretty sure you're a little bit interested right now. There's more numbers that we can crunch in there that are also very interesting. And we're going to do that. But first, we're going to cut the circle that comes out to the nodes with the next layer in the ring of circles. And once again, we'll start at the top over here. And we don't have room to really swing all the way around. So we're just going to swing a little bit, make a little cut. This is what I call circle cutting. Cut the circle. People don't know what the hell I'm talking about when I say cut the circle with the circle. Cut the radius with the radius. Cut the circumference with the radius. But that's what we're doing here. We're just cutting circles with circles. And the way that that humans are kind of limited is that we're left brain dominant. We like to see things in straight lines. That's the way we understand things. Oh no, we missed. We missed our mark, didn't we? Look at that. But let's see what happens if we're persistent and go around anyway. Somewhere along the line I made something fat or skinny. But I've done this drawing enough times that I know I'm not kidding myself or you. And you find the most interesting thing when you cut this circle and then you go around and allow yourself 2 times around the circle. Comes out at about top dead center. It should be top dead center. You don't have to be very off, and the compass doesn't have to float very much for you to be off by a smidgen like that. Anyway, let's call this let's call this 1 right here. This little space. This space will be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can count. Sorry. Funny to imagine what different people are probably thinking as they're watching me do this drawing. Some people are like, what the hell is he doing? And some people are like, what the hell is he doing? Anyway. So you can see that there's 19 delineations when you go around using this circle and that circle, and it's very common that you'll have to go around 2 times or 3 times. It'll end up a third the way through a space, half the way through a space. Sometimes you just have to have faith that if you're using the right type of geometry and the right type of language, that it will come out eventually at or around top dead center. None of this is perfect. You can't plug this into a computer and hope to come up with the drawing come out exact. There will be gaps. That's actually important. I know that that sounds like some type of a cop-out, and frankly, I don't want to spend any time explaining that. But what you see is that if you cut the, you start off in the center with this Vesica Pisces, you come out with 11, then 9, and then 19. And then you see that when you do it in a certain way, it's hard not to see that it's 20, 19. If you were to see that, then you'd also see that this 1 in the middle, which you know how I derived it, it wasn't exactly neat. But you got 2001, 911. So make of that what you will. Also make of the original circle being a 7 with a 4 in the middle, 4th of July. Now, I'm not saying anything's going to happen on the 4th of July, but if it does, you'll know that it has something to do with this. Now, whether or not this is of a divine nature, if you want to believe that, or if you want to believe that man is the creator of it all, it really doesn't matter to me. I'm just the messenger. Please don't shoot me. Anyhow, you can see where I'm going with all this. It's pretty basic. And it goes out further. And this is all the room I have for today. But there's more I want to show you here before I finish this video. If you take the number 9 and the number 11 and you add it all up, so 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 comes out to be 45. And then if you take the 11, you do the same thing, you know that you got the 1 plus the 2 plus the 3 plus the 4 plus the 5 plus the 6 plus the 7 plus the 8, the 9 and the 10, and then the 11. Well, you know that that comes out to be 66. And then if you add those two together, 45 plus 66, well, that comes out to 111. And everybody always associates these triple numbers with coincidence. It's almost like the mind knows to look at the clock at these certain times. Almost. Perhaps it is divine. Anyway. This number 111, the number 121, which is 11 squared, and it's actually, there's more to it than even that. If you add a bunch of these numbers together, there were 3 layers of this 19, and that comes out to 57, like 57 flavors. Anyway, that's for a different day. If you add the 121 and the 111 and the 57, I'm trying to remember this aspect of it. You know what? I'm going to leave the 321 out of this for now until I can come up with a, until I can remember it. Please be patient with me. But in the meantime, I think that this in and of itself is pretty fascinating. And if you know what you just saw, then you know that that this is pretty interesting. I will take I will mention that the tens above, that's the above, and below would be 9, 11. So we're skipping the 10 when we decide to go downward, but they both come out to the same number. And I will also, one of those things that I can never really understand was why they used to call Operation 40 Operation 40. It really didn't make any sense to me until I looked at this design and I said, holy cow, if you take the 20 and you take the 1, the 11, and the 9, you get 40. And that is directly in that downward line. Okay, we're not going up here, we're going down. All right, make of that what you will. But 20 plus 11 plus 9 is 40. And sure, we're leaving out the 19 and the 1. But it is what it is. And very interestingly, I saw a show about how Isaac Newton found a code in the Bible, and he said that the whole thing comes to an end in 2060. And that's really interesting, considering, well, that's also in this line. So it makes me wonder if, with all the research that Isaac Newton did within the Bible, if he just did a real simple geometrical design like this and maybe came out with this and tried to make what he found in the Bible conform to his, or at least was able to find a pattern knowing what he was looking for, or possibilities of what he was looking for. Either way, I'm signing off here. Yeah, so leave any questions or comments you have below, and I hope this reaches as many people as possible. You guys have a great summer, and try to enjoy your 4th of July despite, you know, whatever. I'm not going to... I had to take a long time to decide whether or not to give this out. And I don't yet have a Patreon account. I don't have any way that you can to give me money based on this yet. And just, I'm just saying, have a great 4th of July.